Good morning. Thanks for coming, guys. So we talked about creating a CMA, right? One on the listing appointment, what questions to ask, how to come up with the comparable properties on the MLS and everything. So now that you have the contract signed, what do you do? Right? So today we're gonna summarize the pre-listing preparation and tasks, listing presentation tips, and then we're gonna go into post-listing tasks and post-listing agreement tasks. So just to kind of summarize the last couple of weeks. So pre-listing preparation and tasks, what do? You want to contact the sign company to see if there's any sign requirements for that particular neighborhood. So if you know you're gonna get a listing in, let's say, in West Park, they might have sign restrictions. So the regular sign that we use, I think is 24 by 24, they might not allow that sign. So when you call the sign company, they'll say, oh yeah, West Park has their own specific signs and we can make those signs. So you might have to buy a separate sign for that one community, for that one listing. It'll cost you anywhere from, I don't know, $50 to $75 for that one sign, but it's a good investment because you're getting a listing in that neighborhood. But make sure to order your for sale sign, your open house signs and everything so that you're ready. I would have one now. I just go out and buy one just to have it on hand in case you get a listing, because it can take up to 2 weeks to get your signs printed. So if you have them on hand, this is one less thing you have to do when you go out for your listing presentation and get a listing. And this is the same company that we ordered through, RESS4signs.com. And make sure that when you order the signs, it says full of platinum properties. Sometimes they'll send you the proof. Well, they always send you the proof before they print it, but when they send you the proof, at times they send Coldwell Banker Realty or Coldwell Banker Residential Real Estate, but it should say Coldwell Banker Platinum Property. So make sure that it says that. And then it has your DRA license number, your phone number, broker's name, those things, right? Next thing is purchase a lockbox from Orange County Realtors. Right, you need to give agents access to the property unless the seller says it's by appointment only, no lockbox on the property. But you should still have one, you should own one. In case you get that listing, you have that lockbox ready. And subscribe to the Super E key on your phone. So the Super E key will allow you to access the lockbox. In this case, for a listing, because the lockbox belongs to you, you have access to unlock the shackle to put it over either the doorknob or the side gate or whatever it is, so that no one can remove it, right? And no one but you. But the tray at the bottom that houses the key for the property, that's what agents will be able to access to take the key out and show the property. Any questions on this? It's important to have this. You guys understand why. And add the lockbox to your super account. So you have to create a super account through their website. I think you can access it from the MLS. And you have to enter the serial number for that lockbox into your account of super so that it communicates with it. And so when you open the lockbox or the shackle, you have to have your Bluetooth turned on your phone because that's how it communicates with the lockbox in order to get it to open. All right, so pre-listing, sorry.
Update it before you go out.
I'm sorry?
Update the super before you leave. Before
Yeah.
you leave your house, because in case you've got no reception when you get there.
You know, I've never had the problem.
I've had the opportunity to use mine a few times now, and I've not had a problem either, but I think it was Cameron told me he had a problem once where he had to drive somewhere else to get cell phone, so he could refresh.
Okay, there you go. Update, launch the app before you go show property or try to open a lockbox and make sure it's updated. Thank you. So preparing the listing presentation summary. This is a summary of the preparation of the listing presentation. Obtain a property profile from the title company and the realist tax report. And when you pull up a property profile or ask the title company for property profile, it's going to show you who the actual owners of the property are. So you want to make sure you're meeting with the owners of the property. And maybe only one person called you and you're meeting with that one person, but when you get the title profile, it says there's two owners on the title. So that way you can ask, hey, call and say, hey, will the other signer be there? Or when you're sitting down with them, oh, I noticed that there's another person on title. Are they, are they joining us or what's gonna happen, right? So they know that you know that it's not just them on title. Go to the MLS to look for comps to come up with a suggested list price. Right, so we're looking at recent sales that are similar to the property, same neighborhood. Prepare the CMA for the listing appointment. Go to Zip Forms and print out a blank residential listing agreement to take to the listing appointment. So this is just a little summary of what to do. We're not gonna go into the whole class. You guys can go back and watch that class. And then, so next is now that you have your CMA ready, you go to the listing appointment. And what do? You discuss the client's goals, price, timeline, moving date, etc. Right? What's their motivation? Tour the property. Identify improvements to the property. Discuss comparable properties. Discuss pricing and timing strategy, right? And this means if they need to move right away, you're probably gonna price it a little lower than other listings, right? Because they need to move right away, and you're probably gonna get more offers this way sooner. But if they don't care how long it takes, this is the amount of money they wanna get for their property, then okay, we're gonna put it on the market at that price, and it might sit there for 3, 4, 5 months. Make them aware of that. And that's why you discuss pricing and timing strategy. Discuss your marketing plan with them. How are you gonna market their property? Make sure you have that with you. Sign the residential listing agreement. Is there one more here? Nope, that's it. This is the listing agreement. I pulled up the listing agreement on a separate tab to show you guys later. There's a few different, let's talk about it now. So we have a listing agreement that coming soon in the seller exclusion form. The listing agreement, as you can see here, tells you the beginning date under number 1, and then the ending date. So this is the time period that you have the listing for. So let's say you have the listing for 6 months. Beginning date would be today, ending date would be 6 months from now. If you scroll down a little bit, it says the listing price shall be a number 2. That's how much the listing price is gonna be. And then on 3A, it shows you on the right-hand side, you're gonna check that box and you're gonna say, this is how much percentage the seller agrees to pay, total percentage. This is per the current listing agreement. It's gonna change in a few weeks. But for now, this is what it says, total commission. And from this commission, you can share, like, let's say this is 5%. You can share 1%, 2%, 4% with the buyer's agent if you want to. Unless you scroll down a little further on this form, I don't have it on this slide. There's a section that allows you to check a box that says you're gonna share a certain percentage with the buyer's agent. And if that's the case, that's exactly how much you have to enter into the MLS for now, because that's all gonna be gone. But if you don't enter anything on that bottom portion, you can split that 5% however you want. The coming soon form. Let me go back to this a little bit. Listing agreement, whatever date you enter here is the beginning date. I'm not gonna talk about the signature date and the beginning date. That's gonna be confusing unless I have the form. For now, we're gonna talk about the beginning date. Beginning date is, you have to have this in the MLS within 2 business days, within 2 days of that beginning listing date. So I get the listing signed today, I have to enter it into the MLS within 2 days. Okay? Or else if you try to enter it later, I don't know if there's a fine associated with it or not, but coming soon. Let's say you get it signed today and it begins today, but they're not ready to accept any offers or show it yet. You can have them sign a coming soon form that says, you can advertise it, Mr. Agent, but we can't show it. Okay, so you say, okay, we can start showing you 2 weeks from now. Let's say July, I don't know, 25th. Say you can't show it until July 25th, but you can advertise it. So this coming soon form allows you to make, on the listing contract, you have today's date is the beginning of listing date, but that coming soon form says, advertise it, but don't start showing us until this particular date, right? So then it would be in coming soon status in the MLS.
There's another form for that.
Yes. Or, and then there's a third form, the seller exclusion form. And I'm gonna show you guys what these forms look like. And with that form, you can have today's date at the beginning date on the listing contract, but with this seller exclusion form, let's say the seller's not ready, you know, to show the house or advertise the house or anything. They won't be ready until July, let's say August 1st. So what happens is you have the listing contract today, starts today. But don't enter into the MLS until the 31st. So there's no advertising of it, there's no showings of it. But the fact that you have today as the beginning date locks them in with you. The alternative to that would be either your beginning date on the listing contract would be August 1st. Right? But anything can happen between now and August 1st. What if a buyer just rolls up and says, hey, I'd like to make an offer on your house? You're not entitled to the commission because your contract doesn't begin until August 31st. I mean, August 1st. Does that make sense?
Who's entitled to the commission then?
Whoever submitted the offer, maybe there's no commission. Maybe a buyer just went directly to them and said, hey, I want to buy this from you. And then they strike up a deal and there's no commission. It's just, right? Or like, let's use that example. Another agent comes by and they find out that they're going on the market on August 1st, but they sneak in and bring a buyer and say, hey, I'm willing to do it for 2% total. I have a buyer, let's make a deal. And then they sell it, you don't get a commission because you post-dated your beginning date. So that's where the exclusion form comes in. Get them locked in today on this date, but the exclusion form says, don't market, or show it, or enter into the MLS until August 1st. But they're still locked in with you. So between now and August 1st, if anybody sells that property, you're still entitled to a commission, no matter who sells it. Because you have a listing contract. Does that make sense? Is there any questions on this? Okay. And actually, let me show you the forms, because I have them up here. So this is the listing agreement. Okay. And down here's a section where you're gonna check the box to offer of these 5% up here. You're gonna offer 2.5 to the buyer's agent. But if we leave that off unchecked, then you can offer 1%, 2%, whatever you want from there. Okay, so now the coming soon form is this one. This one says you can advertise the property. There's no showings. You can advertise the property, but don't start showing it until, let's say, August 1st. But you can advertise it. Let people know, build some anticipation and, you know, get people excited about the listing that's coming up. So advertising, all that stuff, right? But it has to be entered into the MLS also within 2 days. And then you have the exclusion form, which is this one. That says, don't enter into the MLS, don't show it, don't market it until a specific date, which will be, here's where you type in MLS, and then down here should have specific date until August 1st. But when you have the listing contract signed along with this seller exclusion form, you have to register with the MLS. You have to let them know you have a listing. There's a way of doing that. I'm not gonna go over that, but you still have to register it. Even though you're not adding the listing to the MLS for people to see it, you still have to let the MLS know that you have a listing. And the same goes for this. If you have the listing contract signed and the coming soon form signed together, then just keep it for your records, but you're gonna enter it with the status of coming soon status versus active status. I feel like that might be confusing for someone. Everybody understands it?
So if you have the coming soon, saying that it's coming August 1st,
You still need the listing contract.
you still want an exclusion form, so nobody jumps in
No,
to sell it.
No, you still need your listing contract. So no matter whether you're gonna use the coming soon form or the seller exclusion, you're always gonna need your listing contract.
Yeah.
And the listing contract, beginning date will be today. That means we're locked in.
Okay.
Now, whether you use the coming soon form or the exclusion form, that's something totally different.
Okay,
The coming soon form just means it's listed, It's in the MLS, but you just can't show it until after the August 1st. The exclusion form says it's not even in the MLS. You're just registering to let the MLS know, hey, I have this listing, but you're not advertising it, you're not showing it, it's not in the MLS. Until August 1st, you're gonna enter into the MLS. Or people start showing in, active listing.
So the listing agreement is like the main thing, and then everything else is like.
Yes, the listing agreement locks you into a specific date. There's some people that post date it, there's some agents that say, hey, I know you're not gonna be ready for another week, so let's post date it for next Wednesday. So the beginning date will be next Wednesday, that will give you time to get the home ready. So that way, the beginning date on the listing contract, so we're not even gonna use the exclusion form or the coming soon form. We're just gonna say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, let's see here. We'll just say next week on Wednesday. So is this right there? Next Wednesday, the beginning date. So if they sell it between now and Wednesday, which might not happen, I don't think it's gonna happen, then you're not entitled to commission. But this way, you're giving them a week to get the house ready before you go on the MLS. But it also gives you time to hire the photographer. So, you call a photographer, hey, I need to schedule an appointment for you to go out and photograph this property because I'm gonna enter it to the MLS. Maybe the homeowners need to declutter their home. Maybe you gave them some tips on what to do to prepare the house for showings. Maybe they have to, one thing you wanna tell them to do is, hey, take down any family photos. It makes it too personal. Buyers can't picture their family in here when they see pictures of your family. So that's one suggestion I would make.
I have two quick questions. One about the photographer. As you've got to get it on the MLS within 2 days. And if you can't get a photographer in time, can you just take any picture and put it on and then add photographs into the MLS later?
You can take a picture of the shirt with like your phone or something, right?
Yeah.
And then use that to enter into the MLS. As long as there's a picture of the exterior of the unit itself, you're okay. Even if you just have one photo.
Okay, great.
And then you can schedule the photographer. The problem there is the MLS feeds the listing out to other websites, along with any photos that are with it. They're on the listing. And if you just upload one photo, they're only gonna get one photo. And then, let's say 5 days later, you upload 30 photos of the property, beautiful professional pictures. I don't know when each website syncs and pulls those photos through. Some of them might not, some of them might do it the next day, some of them might do it the next week. So the consumers might not see all the pictures. So it's important to have all that stuff ready and uploaded in along with the listing the first time, so it just syndicates to everybody.
So my other question was about the fields you just showed about putting in the commission.
Yes,
Is that going to change?
yes.
It's because it's not going to be buyer's agent commission now, it's going to be concessions, right?
No, we're talking about, this is, concessions are in the MLS.
Oh, okay, so when we come to do a listing agreement, we can still specify the commissions at that.
Yeah, so what the difference is gonna be like, there's gonna be a chart, right? A chart instead of like all this. And then one line is gonna say, commission for the listing agent. Not those exact words, but this is exactly just strictly for the listing agent. And do you wanna offer money to the buyer's agent? So this is how much you're offering to the buyer's agent. It's got its own separate line. And then what if the listing agent represents the buyer as well? Is there a different amount for that? And I believe there might be a field for concessions. Do you want to offer concessions to the buyer? I haven't seen that,
Okay.
but that might be the case. So. Right. So let's get out of this. Right. So now, post listing. Now that you have the listing agreement signed and everything, what do you do? Well, schedule the photographer, just like we said, right? You want to get some nice pictures taken of the property, professional photos, because this is reflective of you and your services that you provide. And then typically the agent pays for this. You don't have the seller paperwork, but you know what? At times you're going to have some sellers that are like, hey, I'm a photographer. I want to take pictures of my own house and I'll send them to you. All right, go for it. That saves you money. But traditionally, the listing agent pays for the photos at their expense. And again, suggest removal of clutter, staging, maybe staging options. Tell them to make sure to lock up any valuables or remove any valuables from the house, because this is a great time to tell them, hey, there's gonna be strangers coming in your house. You know, if you usually have your jewelry in your sock drawer, take it out. If you usually have your codeine, pills in the bathroom, take them out, hide them, do something, right? Don't leave them there, because as bad as that sounds, some people just go to open houses to look for things like that. They have little groups of, family where one of them distracts the agent, the other one goes into the bedroom and starts looking around. So make them aware of this. See, these are things that you're not gonna learn in like, just basic classes. These little tips, these are like personal things that people should know, and they assume that you know, but it's not out there. So, staging options, if you want to pay for staging, or if they have to pay for staging. So there's options there, right? There's some agents that say, hey, I'm gonna take the listing for 3%, but with your 3%, I'm including staging, I'm including photography, I'm including, drone photos, all this stuff, right? But if you don't wanna pay me this much, okay, then you're gonna pay for staging. And you're only gonna pay me 2% commission instead, right? So then you start negotiating the different services that you're providing. But all these things add worth and value to you, right, and your services. Not every home needs to be staged. If the owners are still living in the property, they have nice furniture, then just leave them. But if the property is vacant, there's some homes that look nice empty, but there's some that need furniture in there to make them look nicer. Just to give the buyer an idea of what the home could look like, right? If you put the dining table in this area, there's some rooms that are just huge, and you're like, which one's the dining area? Is it over here or is it over here? Where's the living room? And so it just gives them a better idea of what it would look like. This is the website that I recommend, previewfirst.com, for photography. You can go on the website, create an account, it's free, and then you go on the calendar and schedule a date and time and what services you want, and then you pay for it, and they send someone out and take pictures for you. And then I think within 2 days, they'll send you an email, say, hey, your photos are ready, because they touch them up a little bit. And you can download them and then enter them to the MLS, use it for your marketing of the property, so forth. Any questions on this? Very important. So now you have to enter your listing into the MLS or submit it to the MLS. So when you enter listing to the MLS, it's like you just have to, there's a online form where you have to enter certain data, information about the property, like what's the address, what's the unit number, what's the city, the state, zip code, how many bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, what tract is it in, enter a description of the property. Is there a down main floor entrance? Is there how many car garage? All these things you have to enter in the property. So whatever you see in the MLS, when you see a property, a listing, all that stuff has to be entered by you. But guess what? You don't have to try to figure out what to type in. There are fields that you say yes or no, or you enter a number, or you enter something, right? So I recommend that you look in the MLS for a previous listing of this listing. So let's say it's 123 Main Street in Irvine. I'm gonna go into the MLS to see if 123 Main Street was listed before by somebody else, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it may be, because there's information on that property there that you don't have to go out and look for, right? You just print it out, now you have that as a reference. You have your tax records as a reference, right, for maybe tract information, bedrooms, baths, square footage, things like that. Also, if there's no listing, previous listing of that property, search the MLS for other properties that were listed in that same neighborhood, right? Because they might have other listings that are a similar model. Maybe you need to know the HOA name, HOA phone number. What are the HOA amenities, right? These are all things that you can pick up from other listings that'll help you when you're adding the listing to the MLS. Again, this is gold, guys. This is gonna save you so much time. And have a copy of the property profile handy. Then you're gonna submit the listing to the MLS, right? So when you're submitting the listing to the MLS, it's also gonna ask you how much, well, for now, how much commission are you offering? That's all gonna be gone. It's gonna ask you, let's see, what other things might they ask? Is there any green features on the property? Is there solar? Um, What else? Under features of the property, it's gonna have like a bunch of different, I guess, sections or criteria where they'll give you like options for you to check mark. So like, if it says under, heating, it'll say, is it gas heating? Is it, electric heating? Is it whatever? For, fireplace, is there a fireplace in the bedroom, in the living room, in the family room, whatever? They'll give you options to check the boxes, so you don't have to type everything in. So all you have to do is go through and check whatever applies, or say none. But you have to go through, and then when you submit the listing, no matter how much you might think you completed everything, and like, you're like, yes, I did everything, I didn't miss anything. Once you hit validate or submit, it's gonna say, oh, you missed this over here, you missed that. It never fails. But it tells you what section you missed something, and so you can go back to that section, and then it'll have like a little red exclamation mark or something to let you know exactly what you missed. And then after you enter the listing into the MLS, make sure you add the listing to SkySlope so that the brokerage has a copy of that listing agreement. So we need, as soon as you get that listing contract signed, we need a copy of it. It's important for the broker to have a copy of it, because if anything goes wrong and you're nowhere to be found, and someone calls about the listing and about the terms or whatever it is, we have a copy of it, and Richard can talk, a little more informed because he has a copy of the listing contract.
Do we need to set up an account with SkySlope?
Once you get a transaction or listing, we'll set you up on SkySlope. Now it's time to install the for sale sign right in front of the house. So take the pictures. One thing I want to add is, don't take pictures with the for sale sign in front of the property, because MLS will not allow that. That's a violation. So, see, these little tiny details that you're not gonna hear anywhere.
Why is that?
Because it has the brokerage name, it has your name on the sign, and these pictures, the agents are sending out these listings to their clients. But it's gonna have your contact information on the picture, right? So they don't want that. Because then every agent's gonna have like a zoom into, just like this, zoom into the picture and say, oh, that's the front of the house. No, that's your contact information, right? Because where does it end? People take advantage of it. But yeah, so make sure you send your photographer out before you put the for sale sign out in the front lawn. But yeah, so now's the time to put out that sign.
And how much are they typically charged for the photographers?
Between, I would say $200 and $300 for the basic package, which might include, 20 pictures. But then there's other services that you can pay for, which include like drone photography, so you have the aerial shots. Twilight pictures where it makes the house look nicer because it's like, when the sun's going down, it looks nicer, right? And the lights are on outside and it just looks so much cleaner. They'll charge more for that. There's another service called Matterport. And this is a cool service. It's the 3D tour, where you can click on the house and then be in the living room, and then you can, with your mouse, rotate, turn around, you can see the whole room. And then you can go to the next room, click on that, and now you're in the bedroom and you can look, 360 view of the bedroom. And so forth. That's an additional fee. That's another, I think, $250, $300 or something for that.
So this is something that I could do myself if I wanted to, if I had that kind of experience.
Yeah. If you take good pictures, you can go ahead and do it. That's fine. But you want to make sure to give your client the best service, right? So there's some terrible pictures in the MLS where, pictures are usually like this, right? Landscape. They take pictures with their cell phone like this, portrait style, where it just covers up a portion of the picture. And it's terrible. And then the lighting is terrible, and you get the dog in there in the background. It's like, yeah, come on. So remember, this is your reputation on the line, right? And then another thing is, when you create your marketing pieces, you're gonna use these photos and you're gonna print out flyers and postcards. And guess what? Now you're gonna use these flyers and postcards for your next listing presentation. So you can show them, the next potential seller, hey, this is the type of work that I do for you. These are the type of flyers, photos, and everything that I pay for. And the better looking they are, the better the brochures are gonna look. Oh, along with the for sale sign, I don't know if I need to mention this, but I'm going to, you have to buy the signpost as well. And for your open house signs, you have to buy the little signpost as well. That's like an additional, for the open house signs, I think they're like $5 a post or something like that, $5 to $7, I'm not sure. But they're those little metal ones that look spiky that, you know. And for this one, I wanna say might be $20, not sure, but it's not this exact one. They're just metal posts that are like a 7. And they have little hooks, that you can, put the sign on. Oh, and then get sign writers too, now that we're here. The sign writers, go on top of this sign, see these little 2 tabs that are sticking up? That's where you screw the little sign writers into, that say open house or, for sale, or if it's a lease, for lease. Or, in escrow, or sold. Just have a bunch of different ones, right, in case you know, whatever the case may be, you can just screw them in there, take them off when you don't need them, because you can use this for sale sign, it's not a for, it's a sign, right? Or for sale or for lease, just add a little rider on top. Okay. Now you're gonna begin to market the property. So design a property flyer, there's Moxie and Press, a listing concierge on CB Desk to create, there's different templates that you can use to create your flyers. All you would have to do is upload your photos, property photos, type in the description, and then select one of the templates. Download the PDF and then email it to the print company, or if you have a printer at home, you can print it at home. Then design mailers and postcards. You wanna send a just listed postcard to the neighborhood. Yeah, even if the listing is not in your farm area, send out postcards to the neighborhood, because guess what, they might have a relative, one of the neighbors might have a relative that likes the area and they wanna move into that neighborhood. Right? And then they're gonna call you. Advertise on social media. E-marketing, hopefully by now you've built up, an email list that you can send e-marketing to, so the same type of flyers you're sending out, printing out, you can send them out via email, and that's free. And then you can email it to all the local banker agents here, so send it to me, I can e-blast it out to the office. You never know, someone might have a buyer for it, just sitting there waiting. So, if you're gonna have an open house, you should be having an open house on it. You can contact the title company and they can provide shoe covers and flyer stands. And shoe covers are important, especially in Irvine and South Orange County, because the owners are like, oh, I don't want my clovers to get dirty or scratched or muddy or whatever, so. The title company will provide you with a little box that you can put the shoe covers in, they're called booties. So you can have a little sign that says, please remove your shoes or wear shoe covers. Right, so there's some people that take off their shoes, welcome to the open house, or some that'll put the booties on. So that's something you can get from the title company. So again, these are things that maybe you can get ahead of time in anticipation of the open house. Advertise the open house to the neighbors the week before. So sometime during that week, maybe, you know, go to the first 50 homes around that particular house and say, hey, we're gonna have an open house down the street, you're welcome to come and take a look at the property, right? Some neighbors like to go look because maybe they want to see how it's decorated, or they want to see what the model looks like inside, or, you know, just compare it to their own house. Add the open house date and time in the MLS for other listings to see, along with the syndication to other websites. So when you don't enter it on the Friday before that weekend of the open house, because it might not syndicate everywhere. Do it no later than Wednesday. I would add it on Monday just to make sure it's there, right? But once you add it to the MLS, it goes out to Zillow, it goes out to Redfin, it goes out to all the other different websites. It shows that there's an open house on those specific dates and times.
So which day, and if the open house, which day, Saturday, Sunday open house, which day we put the MIS?
MLS, whichever days you're gonna have open house, it only allows you to put 2 dates.
Oh, okay, so like if Saturday, Sunday, we put Wednesday or Thursday?
When does this?
No, you're gonna enter it into the MLS no later than Wednesday, I would, but for Saturday and Sunday. So when you enter into the MLS, let's say today's Wednesday, let's say today's Thursday today, right? I'm gonna have open house this weekend. When I go to the MLS, I'm gonna add open house for Saturday from 12 to 4, save it. And then I'm gonna enter Sunday open house from 12 to 4 and save it. So now on my listing, it's gonna show that there's an open house on Saturday and Sunday from 12 to 4.
Just you will enter in Thursday, right? Okay, Saturday, Sunday open house, you put the.
I would do it no later than Wednesday.
Oh,
But, you know, for some reason, if you're not able to, I guess Thursday, right? But I just wanna make sure that it's gonna go everywhere.
go Saturday.
Yeah, the closer you do it, you add it to the weekend, the more it might not go out to every website.
Okay, how about Monday, if the.
Yeah, enter it on Monday, the Monday before, it gives you plenty of time. And this is a good time to complete your AVID form, your agent visual inspection disclosure form. And this is, again, this form is pretty much what it is a visual inspection of the property. Right, so the listing agent has to provide one of these and so does the buyer's agent. So what you do is pretty much, on this form, it shows, bedroom 1, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, bathroom 1, bathroom 2, bathroom 3, entrance, garage, exterior, all these things, right? And so you would write down if there's anything wrong in that room, like, any deficiency, so it's not an inspection where you're gonna look behind the couch, or you're gonna look under the cabinets to look for a leak. It's visual inspection, so whatever you see when you walk into the room, let's say this is the living room, I walk into the living room, there's a broken window back there. Okay, I see a broken window in the living room. Okay, that's it, all right, cool. I walk over to the family room. Oh, there's a torn carpet, okay, torn carpet. Right, so there's some agents that I've seen, not from our office, because they know better, from other offices, when we get a copy of their AVID. They're like, oh, there's a fireplace in the living room. There's a chandelier in the dining room. It's like, no, this is not an inventory, this is an inspection. So if there's nothing wrong with the room, just say no visual defects. That's it. But make sure that you address every single room on that list. You wanna make sure that you convey that you went into that room and you took a look. Because this agents don't even go, they just write stuff on it just to submit it. But it's important because if there's something that's blatantly there, and you write on your agent visual inspection form that there's nothing wrong with it, but it's like really, really like blatant that it's there. And then something happens, and then, you know, they can come back and include you into the lawsuit, because how can you not see that? You didn't write that was there, right? Even though the buyer probably saw it, and they said, oh, let's move forward, and then they close escrow, and they're like, oh, hey, I didn't know that was there, come on, how can you, right? It can create a problem, so again, any tears, any holes, any breaks, things like that. If there's mold, don't say it's mold because you're not a mold expert. Just say there's a black stain in the ceiling in the bathroom. Or if there's watermarks or water stains in the ceiling, don't say it's water stains in the ceiling. Say yellow discoloration in the ceiling or yellow stain in the ceiling. Because again, you know, you don't know it was caused by water. Maybe it was caused by milk. Maybe it was caused by, anyways, just don't ever say what the exact problem is because you don't know what it is. Just say the stain or, you know, or the hole in the wall. Yeah, things like that. Any questions on that? So it's a good time to get this done before anything else here, before you start advertising it. So you're gonna set up the seller disclosures for the seller to sign. It's important to have all this stuff ready so that when you do get an offer accepted, you can just email all the seller's disclosures all ready for them to review and sign. Sometimes it's could be difficult getting these signed after. So let's say, example, we get the listing up and going, it's in the MLS and everything, and then 1 week later, we get a bunch of showings, someone submits an offer, the seller's like, oh, hey, we like this, we accept it. Okay, now we have to do seller's disclosures, send them all to the seller, and the seller went away for 2 weeks. And it's like, but we had this plan, you know, we were going away and we can't not go. Well, now they don't have access to email, or it's limited access, or maybe they're computer or their phone is not working with the e-signature app. That happens. So it's good to have all this stuff taken care of now before you even start accepting any offers. So that when you do get an offer accepted, there you go, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. Here's all the seller's disclosures. All right, let's move on. So open house. Now it's time to do an open house, right? So open house, make sure you have your open house signs. Maybe a open house registry. You might not need this anymore because the new open house forms that are coming out. I don't have any information on that. I just know that there's gonna be, I think, an open house form, a couple of them. One of them that says that when every buyer is gonna have to sign a contract with somebody. Right? So there's gonna be a form when you come to an open house that says, Mr. Buyer, if they say they're represented by someone, what's your name? Who's the agent that's representing you? What's the brokerage? We wanna know that. Okay, cool. Go ahead. You can see the property now. Or the buyer's gonna come and say, I don't have an agent. Okay, Mr. Buyer, here's you have to, if you want me to show you the property, you have to sign a contract with me saying that if you do want to submit an offer, it's gonna be through me. And I don't know if there's gonna be different options, but they have to be signed up with somebody to see the property. In this case, if I'm the listing agent, I'm holding the open house and they want to see the property. If you want to see it, you're either gonna sign with me or you're gonna sign with somebody else to see it. You're here, why not sign it here? This just says that if you want to submit an offer on this property, you're gonna submit it through me, because I'm showing it to you. But it doesn't obligate you to use me for any other properties, just this property. Right? And then third option is the buyer broker agreement. And that, that's saying I'm representing you as a buyer, and it could be for any property in Orange County, and for this price, and and it expires on this date. So that's a whole different thing. So those are the options. Yes,
What if, like you said, some neighbor comes in just to see the house? Just
they have to sign in.
Oh, just to sign in as, I'm just looking.
No,
I'm not trying to buy it. I
it's
just
not
know
period, it's not period, but they're gonna have to sign with somebody to be able to see a property.
Okay,
Whether they have an agent, an existing agent, they have a contract with them. Some of them might like you, they might say, yeah, I have a contract, I'm signed up with, maybe it's a friend that's a realtor, so they're gonna say, this is my realtor's name, this is their brokerage. Okay, if that's who you're signed up with, okay, cool, go ahead.
But the sign, what's the goal for the significant name?
What's the goal?
Yeah,
The goal is to show that they're represented by somebody, because you're not gonna be able to show property without them being signed up with somebody.
that's a new one.
That's what's coming. So if you're a buyer, you can't see any properties unless you have a contract with an agent.
And if you're just looking around, just because you want to see what the house looks like, good luck. You may
You're gonna have to
say no.
sign, you're gonna have to sign something,
Yeah,
whether it's with the agent at the listing or with another agent. So, it's gonna be a big change for everybody. We're still gonna see what that looks like.
this
So,
is new policy, for somebody open
yes,
house.
August 17th.
Oh, you mean the come in the open house, send the list?
The forms, yeah, the open house forms, it's gonna be, August 17th is when it's gonna be, applied.
We got emails that in the MLS, it's gonna be switching up on 13th.
Yeah, for the commission.
But
Yeah.
people still send, somebody come in the open house, they still send the name and like email or something.
No, that's like an open house registry. If someone comes to your open house, you can have them sign in, send a name and their email, phone number, right?
Oh.
You could do that. But, for, in the future, after August 17th, you're not gonna need this, because if they're represented by another agent, you can't solicit their business if they're already signed up with somebody, so you can't email them. So they're just gonna say, this is my name, this is my agent, this is the brokerage that they belong to,
Okay,
so you can't contact them anyways.
yeah, but if they don't have agent.
Then they have to sign a form
and
with
they
you,
didn't yeah.
contract
They can
saying,
email.
they have to, they enter their name and their phone number or email, whatever it is. I'm not sure what that form looks like yet, but I imagine that's what it's gonna be.
that'd be a good thing.
Yeah. It's like having them sign this, yeah.
Instead of that, we just have a form.
And then, so while you're at the open house, I like to put some music on in the background. You know, I take a little Bluetooth speaker with me, with some Spanish guitar music. Usually everybody likes it when they come in, like, oh, this is one open house. They're like, this is classier than the other open house. They were playing hip hop. It's like, okay, well, this kind of sets the mood of like relaxing and, you know, maybe some candles. Or maybe one of those air fresheners that you plug in just to get the house smelling a little fresh. Make sure you open all the blinds to let more light in. Things like that, just to get the home ready. Turn on all the lights on the property. Make sure you've already put all your open house directional signs coming from the main streets, major cross streets, leading people into the actual listing itself. So you want to capture just people driving around. They might be coming home from church and then they're looking for properties, but they weren't planning on looking at anything because today we went to church, but on the way back from church, they see, oh, there's an open house here. It's in the neighborhood that we're looking at. Let's stop by. Because they saw your open house sign, right? So make sure that you buy plenty of open house signs because you want to lead people in from different major streets. And sometimes you might need 6 signs just to lead them in from the major street to get to that property from this side. And then another 6 or 7 from that side. And then another 6 or 7 from that side. So depending on where the home is located, you're gonna get the traffic of people that found the listing on the MLS, I mean, on Zillow. And those people are gonna come by. And then you're gonna get the ones that agents sent their buyers to go look at the property, go to the open house. And then you're gonna get the people that you wanna capture the people that are driving by. Any questions on this? And then some people will have water bottles, especially like now, it's a hot summer. Maybe some ice cold water bottles, maybe, you know, some cookies or something, if you wanna do that. At the open house, you also wanna have flyers. Right, of the property with all the information you need, maybe information about the HOA, all the amenities. Right, maybe on that flyer, you're gonna include what the school district is, what the elementary school, middle school and high schools are for the neighborhoods. These are all things that people might wanna know. So now that you've had your open house and hopefully you've had some offers submitted, whether it's through you or through some other agents, now it's time to present all the offers and review them with the seller. So your obligation is to submit all offers to the owner and review them with them. If there's one that you don't like, doesn't mean that you should throw it away. You should present all offers, unless the seller specifically says, and I would get this in writing, I think there's something on the listing contract that might say that, or in an email, don't show me any offers less than this. I don't wanna see it. So you have instructions. I'm not gonna show them anything less than this. Or don't show me any offers, that are not cash. I only want you to show me all cash offers. Okay, so you only show them cash offers, right? Aside from that, you are to submit all offers. There's a form in zip forms, it's called a summary of multiple offers. And this is a pretty cool form because along with sending in all the offers, you can compare them side by side here. So like the first column under offer, you enter the first offer, how much they offered, is it cash, what's the deposit, what's the loan amount, close of escrow days at 30 days, 45 days, whatever it is. And then the next offer, you can enter the next one, right, and so forth. So they can see side by side and compare them. This is a pretty cool form because you see up front, you don't have to, you know, they don't have to look through every form to find everything. You fill this out for them. That's pretty cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're either gonna accept an offer, your seller's gonna accept an offer, or you're gonna send counter offers. So make sure to let your seller know when you start receiving offers that, hey, you might have to counter some of these offers. Or there's some offers that they'll get offended. Oh, my house is worth more than this offer. And they think that's like the end all be all. It's like, no, you know you can counter, right? It's not like this is the end of the world. It's not just their final offer. Let's counter them. Maybe you might have 5 offers and you can counter 3 of them, or you can counter all 5, or maybe you just counter 1 of them. But if you're gonna counter more than one, then you're gonna send them seller multiple counter offer. And this puts them on notice that you're countering more than just them. If you're sending a seller counter offer, then that means you're only countering one person. And they know that they're, that you're just countering with them and they have a little bit of leverage. But when you send a multiple counter offer, now they know, okay, I better send my best terms. Or they accept an offer, right? So regardless, you accept it, you counter, and then you accept it. And now the offer is accepted. All right, so then what happens? Now you're ready to open escrow. Now the offer is accepted. What does that consist of? You're gonna email the executed purchase agreement and all counter offers and addendums to the escrow company. And you want to include your seller's contact information. So when you email escrow, say, hey, please open an escrow for this property, attached is the purchase contract along with addendums or counter offers, whatever it might be. Here's the seller's contact information. Please contact me for any information. Oh, here's the buyer's agent's contact information. Because escrow is going to want to reach out to that buyer's agent. And then what's gonna happen is escrow is gonna reach out to the buyer's agent and say, Mr. or Mrs. Buyer's agent, I need your client's contact information because I need to send out wire instructions and escrow instructions. And then that buyer's agent is gonna send over the buyer's information and so forth. Any questions on this? So now that you open escrow, you're gonna deliver the seller's disclosures to the buy side. Right, because now we're beginning the process of the escrow, of the actual sale itself. And you've already done this, right? Like way before. So as soon as you open escrow, send those documents over. The sooner you send it to them, the sooner that you're gonna get it back. Usually, by default, there's a 17-day contingency period for the review of these documents. But know that if you send them the seller's disclosures on day 17, they don't have to remove their contingencies, even though they agreed to remove them 17 after 17 days. The buyer gets 5 days after they receive the disclosures to review the documents and then remove contingencies. So let's say it's not just with seller's disclosures, it's also with maybe HOA docs. Maybe the HOA was dragging their feet, they didn't get anything out by, until like day 15. The buyer still has 5 days to review those documents before removing contingencies. Same thing with the property profile, same thing with, what else? TDS, I'm sorry, the NHD report, natural hazard report. And now included in that is the insurance, but that's not something, the insurance is a new contingency that's added, but that's not something you're waiting for, that's something you're hoping to try to get before that contingency period. And so that's a little bit different. Let's see. Now you also want to termite, order the termite inspection. If the sellers agreed to pay for the termite inspection, which is, it's kind of traditional, right, to do that, where the buyer says, within their purchase contract, seller to pay for termite inspection. If that's the case, then you have to say, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, now we have to order a termite inspection. Here's these 2 companies, would you like to call or would you like me to call? They're gonna ask you to call. Okay, so you call, maybe you get pricing, and which one would you like to use? This one, okay, so you order it. So you wanna do this the first couple of days. If the seller agrees to make any repairs, they must be completed by the final walkthrough. So within the escrow process, the transaction process, maybe the buyer ordered a home inspection, and the inspector found all sorts of things wrong with the property. And the buyer's like, well, I don't know if I want to move forward with this, but let's see if they'll either repair these minor things or maybe give us a credit. So they send a request for repairs to the seller. we want you to fix this, and that. And then the seller says, okay, we'll fix it. If they agree to fix or repair anything, the work must be completed 5 days before closing. That's when the final walkthrough happens. Any questions on that? And I believe I have the transaction timeline here as well, so we'll go over that again. There it is. Okay, so I know I bring this up a lot, but it's important to understand, this is a 30-day escrow. Okay, so on the left of one, I should have added 0 because day 0 is acceptance. So if the seller accepts the offer today, today's day 0. And acceptance is delivering the acceptance to the buyer. So if the seller signs it today, they accept it, but I don't email it to the buyer's agent until tomorrow, then tomorrow will be the acceptance date. So tomorrow will be day 0. Does that make sense? So delivery of the acceptance is the acceptance date. So let's say today is day 0, my seller accepted the contract, and I emailed the acceptance to the buyer's agent. Today is day 0. So tomorrow will be day 1. So by day 3, the seller should have ordered or requested the HOA docs if there's an HOA, and the seller's gonna pay for that. Other things that happen is the buyer should have already had their deposit wired in their deposit. Let's see. Proof of down payment, that should have been sent along with the offer. Pre-approval, that should have been sent with the offer. That's the first 3 days. And then, so within these first 3 days, it's not on here because it's not, if they're not, I guess, duties or things that the agent is supposed to do per the contract. But within the first 3 days is when you should have already sent your seller's disclosures, right? We talked about that, to the buy side. Already filled out and signed and everything. And then you should have already ordered your termite inspection within these first 3 days. Right, so now that's out of the way. And then the buy side, if you're representing the buyer, then if there's an inspection to be ordered, you'd have already ordered the inspection by this time. Right, and your buyer should have already sent their wire their deposit in. And now we're going to day 4, 5, 6, 7. By the 7th day, the seller's disclosures should have already been sent out. Because you have 7 days to send out the seller's disclosures, but I like to do it right away. Right? Why waste time? Let's see. There's a problem located in code. So the HOA docs have already been ordered by this time. So delivered term. So the prelim should have been ordered, preliminary total report. If there's any leased items like maybe solar panels or leased that are being transferred over, it should have already been discussed. Let's see. Seller's delivery of affidavit known for status. This is part of the seller's disclosures that we're sending out. So all this is already sent out. So there's going to be some days during the transaction, we talked about this before, where you're not going to have anything to do. And it's just going to be dead and quiet, and you're going to be wondering, "I'm going to cancel. What's going on? Oh my God, how come we haven't heard anything?" Well, maybe by this time you're getting back the report from the termite inspection. And then the buyer's getting the report back from the regular inspection. And now the buyer's like trying to figure out, should we ask for repairs or should we ask for a credit? So that's what's going on in the background. And then the listing agent will email over a copy of the termite inspection report to the buyer side. And now the buyer is gonna say, well, we want them to do the termite work, to pay for the termite work. So that might be included in their request for repairs. Or maybe there's no termites. So we delivered that and there's nothing to be done there, so that's all done. Within this time frame, escrow is gonna send escrow instructions to buyers and sellers, they're all gonna sign. Right, so, but you as the agent are sitting there like, okay, you're gonna be getting emails from escrow. This is for your records, keep a copy of this. Also, if you're representing the buyer, after you open escrow, you want to let the loan officer know that you guys are in escrow. Send them a copy of the purchase contract if you represent the buyer side. So let's keep going here. So day 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Maybe around this time, there's some requests for repairs being negotiated back and forth. So if you're representing the buyer, you're sending a request for repairs. Hey, we'd like you to repair this, 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 and that, and the termite work. And then they send it to the seller. The seller says, okay, I'll fix this, this, and that. But that's it. I'm not gonna do everything you're asking for. And then the buyer's like, okay, you're negotiating, okay, we'll accept that. So that's kind of, that's what's taking place within this time period, right? Day 8 through 15, let's say. Maybe even through the 17, maybe the buyers are dragging their feet, who knows? By day 17 is the default timeframe to remove all buyer's contingencies. Loan contingency, appraisal contingency, inspection contingency, like everything, right? But if you have a feeling, this is a listing agent, if you have a feeling that the buyers might not be removing contingencies for one reason or another, on day 15, I would send out a notice to buyer to perform. That's a form that's saying, you're gonna check the box that says to remove all contingencies. So that means you're saying, we're giving you a notice that you have to remove all your contingencies 2 days later, because when you send out a notice to buyer to perform, it gives them 2 days to perform. And what you want them to perform is remove all contingencies. This gives your seller an out. And this is important because during the transaction, if the buyer doesn't remove their contingencies, they can cancel at any time. Throughout the whole transaction, if they don't remove contingencies, the seller's stuck. Right? But this is a way out for your seller. Your seller sends out a notice to perform, and then 2 days later, the buyer doesn't perform and remove contingencies. The third day, the seller can cancel unilaterally. That's their way out. That's their protection. I always send it out. Buyer's agents freak out. Why are you sending? Is the seller upset? Are they, do they want to back out? So I prepare them beforehand. I send them, hey, just want to let you know, it's a company policy to send out a notice to perform just to protect our seller. So don't freak out. Tell your buyer, no need to freak out, but it's just for our seller's protection. And they're like, okay, cool, thanks. You send it, then they convey the message and so forth, and then hopefully they'll remove contingencies by then. That doesn't mean that the seller has to cancel on the third day, but it gives them the option to if they want to. Sometimes the seller will be like, no, let's give them another day or two, that's fine, no worries. If they don't remove contingencies on day 17, it's not the end of the world. I've been in a transaction where the buyer never removed contingencies, and we still closed. I mean, we were cutting it close, and I kept sending notice to perform, and it didn't work, and we were too far into it at that point. But you want to try to get them to remove contingencies because that almost sets it in stone, And if they remove contingencies and then they cancel after that, then the seller's entitled to keep the deposit. Might be able to keep it. I don't want to say 100% certainty that they will, but they have a good case. So now, we move along, hopefully they agree to the repairs, and then they've already sent someone out to repair everything. And now we're at 5 days before closing. The seller should have already completed their repairs by this time, and the buyer's gonna do their final walkthrough. And let's see, seller remove tenants. So if there were tenants in the property and the sellers agreed to remove the tenants, they should have already been out by that time. This is an investment property, but in our example, it's not. So that should have happened 5 days prior to closing, and then it closed on day 30. But if for some reason you think that one of the parties might not close, this is a demand to close escrow that you can send 3 days prior to closing. I mean, this is a way out for the seller to get, right, if you need to. But any questions on this?
I guess the only question I have is that I have heard Irvine talking about the fact that he's had much shorter closing periods. What if the closing, if the say it's a cash transaction and it's a vacant house and they want to close in 15 days, does everything get squeezed up within that 15 days?
Yeah, so if it's a 15-day escrow, the contingency periods on the offer are gonna be shorter. So it might be a 10-day contingency period for inspections or 7 days.
And is that negotiable? Or is
Yeah,
that-
oh yeah, the default language is 17 days, but you can change that number to whatever you want when you submit the offer. Now, is the seller gonna accept that? Those terms? Who knows? Maybe they're gonna say, no, we want, let's say the default is 17. Your offer looks better if you reduce that number, looks stronger. But if you raise the number, if you say, I need 21 days, the seller might say, no, this buyer over here is only doing it, removing contingencies on 15, or they just need 15 days. So the more days you're asking for, the weaker your offer looks, the less days that you're asking for, or reduce it to, the better, the stronger your offer looks.
So some of these timelines are fixed legal and some of them are negotiable.
Well, they're not fixed.
So
It's just the default language. That doesn't mean that that's law, right? It's just the default language, but that can be changed because on the contract, it says 17 days, or there's a blank line days, or 10 days, or 7 days, or 5 days, whatever you want to change it to. And then as long as everybody agrees to it, everyone signs the contract, then that's what it's gonna be. So let's say you change it to 15 days. So now we're looking at this chart and we're saying 15 days, it's gonna be close of escrow. Contingency period is 7 days. So, you still have to have your deposit in by the 3rd day. You still have to send your seller's disclosure within this time frame. You still have to remove contingencies on day 7 instead of day 17. And then you move forward, and then 5 days before closing, you do your final walkthrough. And then you close on the 15th. So yeah, everything is squeezed a little, so you might have a lot more to do within that time frame instead of having all these extra days where you have nothing to do. Those extra days when you have nothing to do, you could be farming, you could be working on your marketing, you could be cold calling or, trying to find leads. Any questions on this? Does this make sense to everybody?
Good, thank you.
Okay. That's it? Anybody at home have questions? Let's see, who's at home? Carlos, you have questions? I don't hear you if you're talking. Okay, we can't hear him if he's, maybe he's typing something in. Okay, cool. All right, that's it. I think, what we're gonna do next week is we're gonna have the workshop that Rich talked about at the meeting. Maybe we fill out the buyer broker agreement. And, that way we all practice, but we'll all do it here, because last time I gave you guys homework, I only had one person turn in an offer. It was MJ. We had homework where I asked you guys to write up an offer and submit it to me like if I was the listing agent, and I'd go over and, correct it or, tell you how you did with it. And only one person submitted, so this time, so this time, I think what we'll do next Thursday is we'll work on the buyer broker agreement. We'll cover it on here, we'll have you guys fill one out, we'll have you print it out so that way you can have it on hand. But most importantly, having a copy of it, print it out versus just having it on the computer is, next time you fill one out with a client, you can look at it, refer to it while you're filling it out. Right, so you know what you're doing, instead of like having 2 screens up and like, oh, hey, let's, what does it say, going back and forth. And that shouldn't take too long, so maybe we'll have you guys write up an offer as well while you're here. Because I know Richard covers the purchase contract thoroughly, like he explains everything. But what we haven't done is showing you how to actually fill it out. Explaining it is one thing, but actually filling out is another, so we might do that. Have you guys fill one out. Maybe go through and show an example of filling one out, and then having you fill it out yourself on zip forms. Or maybe I'll print some out, you guys could write. What would you guys want me to print them out? Can you just write them in?
Yeah, great.
Okay. All right, we'll do that.
Thanks,
Thank
Colin.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
It's great.
See you guys next week. Let's see.